We must raise awareness as well as raise puns. So mothers and fathers can raise families, raise daughters, and raise sons. Who don't raise crime race because we don't raise guns. Dreams occur, not dreams deferred, no more raisins in the sun. Let me see you raise your fist if you raise your consciousness to make this change come. I'm talking about a love so strong, even the dead will raise up. A love so strong, even the dead will raise up. What time is it?
Time to raise up.
I said, what time is it?
Raise a voice.
I said, what time is it?
Raise a voice.
Are we ready for peace or ready for war? We crown the king of dreams with a head full of thorns. A legend is born, his words are like bread to the poor. So live, each line is like breath to a corpse. Reversing effects of post-mortem rigor mortis, each verse a metaphor for metamorphosis. Different motive and intent, no forms, this is a level endorsement.
Genocide is suicide, because as I open my eyes wide, I begin to not see my former community. Genocide is suicide, and they coming in all white, all right, all day, all night, talking about this the near north. No, this the north side. We ride every day, every night. I lost people to this community. So now you trying to rename it? Know me? No, you don't know me, and that's the problem. Genocide is suicide because she's thinking about taking a 9 and blowing her brains out. She feels misunderstood in her own hood. Could you relate? You think you right because you white, but you wrong. They say brown, stay back, black, get way, way back. That must mean that I'm in the back of the room because I always been talked about for my skin color. That's why I say the things that I say in my poetry every day. Stop asking black girls if they're mixed just because you find them attractive, as if Caucasian is some magical blood that creates beauty. Top up our communities, put us on the auction blocking bids. What's your name, boy? Kuta Kinte, Toby Rids. I'm just trying to speak the truth. They scared us songs like This Is America and ATM, because niggas finally talking about what we should have been talking about years ago.
Come on.
Nina Simone, Malcolm X, Langston Hughes. Art puts us back on the throne because, see, he's at home playing video games, not knowing where he really comes from. Art keeps us wholesome. They talking about the twerking is inappropriate, but see, we come from a place where we move our hips and we swing our waist and we smile and grin while we dancing on our face. But they don't understand it, so then they go grab that mace. Bass, too much bass in our voice. They say it's too much bass in our music, so somebody calls the cops. I'm looking at that meme where she's calling the cops. Was another nigga shot? Did you call the cops when Jamar Clark was shot? Did you call the cops when Chad Robinson was shot? Did you call the cops when Trayvon Martin was shot? No, you calling the cops.
8 Seasons of Art is a groundbreaking story about the Black arts community in Minnesota. Director Philip McGraw follows the story of painters, musicians, poets, and writers, all sharing how they use their art to respond to the conditions of society. His film demonstrates the long-term effects of institutional racism and structural violence on residents in the Twin Cities. The goal of raising awareness about how making and observing art is the foundation for building healthier communities. Director McGraw asserts that art is a consciousness, a state of mind that can provide healing with the simplicity of brushstrokes, words, and soul. Over a dozen featured artists in the film creatively challenge the media's narrative of Black people by embodying the consciousness of art and activism and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, man, there's something special about the Twin Cities artist community because we are really cultivating a culture of like social justice and activism and like intentionality through our crafts. An endless list of folks who are really out there putting in the work, and I think that's because there's been a community formed over a number of years. Like we're part of this legacy, part of this lineage that's been formed years and years and years, even before I was ever even a twinkle in my father's eye. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been doing this, is what I'm trying to say. I can think of folks like, I mean, you know, rest in power J. Otis Powell, who was one of my good friends and mentors, who did some of the greatest work in the Twin Cities, laying the foundation for cats like me. You know what I'm saying? Phenomenal writer, orator. You know what I'm saying? I think about other folks who I met and saw when I first came in the Twin Cities, people like the Black Liberation Project. We got Signe and Jayanthi, Million Artist Movement. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're a part of. And it's just a collective of artists and allies with Black leadership who are working towards liberation.
We are literally programmed, and I think a lot of us have, you know, I don't know if it's ADD, you know, I don't like those labels either. I know sometimes I can be a little whatever too as far as my attention, but sometimes it's literally hard for us to keep our eyes on somebody. We're like, well, when are they going to be done? Like, honey, first of all, I'm a great poet. I'm pretty good at what I do. And second of all, this is information that you need, you know? And if you already know it, then you should be grabbing a friend that doesn't.
Come on.
Combo.
Like working through a hip hop pedagogy, educating the youth on how to really step fully into their identities and really be active in their communities. We got like my guy Niles Chadwick Phillips with the Avant-Garde, just like shining a spotlight on the Black excellence that's out here. Houston White, also doing the same thing, but he's got the barbershop, he's got the brand that he's been building, and he's been out here forever, since he was a kid, doing that type of work, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I mentioned earlier my guy, Kenneth Caldwell, painter. Not only is he a painter that comes out to the shows and you know, he'll paint on canvas, he does body painting as well, but he's also a teacher, and he's teaching the next generation how to paint as well and master that craft. There's just so many people out here who are not only artists, but they're also activists, but they're also teachers, they're also just folks in the community who really like love their work and love the people and are giving back in real ways. And that's my favorite part about the Twin Cities, is like there's so many people out here doing that. It's a beautiful thing. You don't always see that everywhere. Sometimes you go to different places where people are kind of cutthroat and it's real competitive. And I'm not saying that there's not some of that energy here, but the general overarching vibe that I've experienced is one of love and just folks really coming together and supporting each other, a lot of solidarity, a lot of working together to create something beautiful right here. So, yeah.
When you find the water, pass it on. Be a hero, pass it on. You will find the water, pass it on. You want to be a hero, pass it on. When you find the water, pass it on. Be a hero, pass it on. You will find the water, pass it on. Who will be a hero?
Is me personally, art is freedom, art is life, art is family, art is friends. It's direction, it's therapy, it's basically everything under the umbrella of life, man. So
Just creative human expression. I think everybody has creative sensibilities, whether they realize it or not, because I think we as created beings have a creativity that's stirred within us. And we can express that in a number of ways. It doesn't always mean that you're on a canvas or you're on a stage. It can also mean just the ways in which you live your life with intentionality and consciousness. I think if we're creative about the choices that we make and how we move from day to day, I think that's an art in and of itself. And so for me, I think it's a creative expression. It's a force. It's a power that lives within us. And if we allow it to grow and to craft it, it can be something really beautiful.
I think the necessity for art, it's a different outlet. It's an outlet that allows you to be you. It's a creative outlet. It's energy. It's something that's needed. It allows you to be original. So I think having art in the community is important for that reason. Just to create and spark new energy, new ideas, new creativity, and new life. So
where I think the strength is, that's where I see the power. So for me, that's what it's all about, is us tapping into that strength, into that power, into that beauty, and really knowing who we are. Because I think there's so many messages out there that dehumanize us and try to take away our power. But once we're reminded of who we are, reminded that we're these beautiful, powerful humans, and then we can cultivate places where we feel fully alive, where we have our needs met, where we're not hungry, where we have a home. Like, I think all of that can be cultivated through the arts.
what I do with my work, it seems like the older I get, the more intentional I want to be about, the more intentional I want to be with my art. So being able to use it specifically to raise awareness for something, or maybe spark energy in the youth, or even just being more visible so that other young aspiring artists can see someone in their community doing something that they may aspire to do and make a living and be successful at it.
Yeah, the ways in which I feel that my art can transcend the conditions in which we live is through the raising of the consciousness. Because there's so many messages already out there that are like dumbing us down, they're diluting our power and are distracting us from like being our fullest, best, and most authentic selves. But I think if maybe a kid walks into one of my shows and hears something that I say that inspires him, like, oh, like, I never knew that before. Maybe he goes back and digs a little deeper, does some research, you know, and learns something new about himself, about his culture, about his ancestry, that really puts him on a path of like self-discovery and empowerment. Like, that's my hope. I try to put messages throughout my work, you know. It's kind of like, I think about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, when the slaves were finding their way to freedom, and they had little messages. They had ways to give each other messages to point each other towards where it was safe. Different things they would say and do to like lift each other up and help each other along the way. And so I look at music that way. I look at art that way. Like we live in a world that can be so violent and oppressive. But I think those of us who are lovers of justice, those of us who are lovers of peace, those of us who are lovers of freedom, we have to work together. We have to give each other like messages of hope and ways where we can.
I believe that we all are artists. In some way, shape, or form. I tell my students this over at the school. They be like, man, I don't like art. I don't want to come to your class. I be like, for real? Some nice shoes you got on, man. Like, yeah, thanks. You know, an artist made them shoes, right? And then they start thinking about it. And I say, when you get your hair done and you put the colors and stuff, that's art. And when you matching your hair with your outfit and your shoes, that's art. So you can't tell me you don't like art. It's impossible for you to not be touched or affected by art at some point in your life. It's impossible.
Liberation. Because for me, it's not a one-time event. It's a lifelong process and a practice and a discipline. Like we got to keep working at this thing. It's an everyday struggle. You know what I'm saying? And some days, as much as I want to champion justice and compassion and freedom, there's days where I don't feel it, where I don't experience it. And so I'm gonna need my brother, I'm gonna need my sister, I'm gonna need one of my siblings in the struggle to remind me of that truth. Whether that's through music or through poetry or through dance or just through their presence, walking alongside me. And so for me, that's what I try to do through my art for other people, because I know I need it myself. And so I can only hope that I give it to other people as well. This show I just did, Ancestral Echoes, just celebrating my newest project. It was so
But nowadays, all they gotta do is enslave us psychologically. I know the dream is for us all to be free. Once we realize that we all got what we need and rise up together, I know you and I can topple that tree. We gotta realize that we got all that we need. We need to find liberation. Right here, right now. Every generation. We need liberation. Come on. Every generation. Revolution, revolution. On the streets they singing it. Revolution, revolution, expressing our grievances. Revolution, revolution, but we ain't really seen it yet. Revolution, revolution, do we really believe in it? They used to hang us out there on that poplar tree. But nowadays, all they gotta do is enslave us psychologically. I know the dream is for one day for us all to be free. But we got to realize that we got the key. We got all that we need to be free and find liberation.
So we have plenty to be angry about. Our brothers and sisters are being gunned down in the street. Our culture is being stolen. Our art is being stolen. But through all this, we have to celebrate ourselves and enjoy whatever makes us smile without feeling guilty about it and feeling shamed. Black joy is an act of resistance.
Art tells a story of an individual's life, their experiences, the story of a struggle that we all know too well.